At the beginning of William's second term he was upset by an even bigger family row hitting the news. The News of the World, with Rebecca Wade now at the helm, ran an exclusive story under the headline, "Harry's Drug Shame." Harry, then 16, had confessed he'd been smoking cannabis and drinking underage and after hours in the Rattlebone. According to the story, Harry's behavior had come to light in November 2001 and his father had taken him for a short sharp shock to Featherstone Lodge, a drug rehabilitation centre in South London, to spend a day talking to recovering drug addicts. The News of the World claimed that Harry had been smoking the cannabis in the shed at the back of the Rattlebone and on one occasion, at the end of a lock-in, a very drunk Harry, when asked to leave, had called the French under-manager, AF****** Ingfrog. Steve Hoare, from Nobody's Business, was there that night and was so disgusted by the lies he read in the papers over the whole incident that he has never bought a newspaper since. No one ever used the shed out at the back. The lock-ins happened in the back bar. There were never any drugs in the pub when William or Harry were around, and if anyone had produced any, Skip and Casper, instructors from the polo club or their PPOs, who were always there, would have been on it like a flash. As for the incident with the Frenchman, François Hortet, known as French Frank, it was playful banter. They were friends, and the Frenchman was giving as good as he got. According to locals, the News of the World had sent a couple of young reporters to live in the village for a month and infiltrate the Rattlebone. They had been introduced by a regular as relatives and they got to know the locals. It's rumored that it was not motivated by altruism. The figure of £35,000 has been mentioned. What none of the media who flocked to the sleepy village of Shurston looking for locals to spill the beans on Harry knew was that Mark's release of the story to the News of the World was a skillful piece of damage limitation. During the summer, the News of the World had published a photograph of a very spaced-out Harry in a nightclub in Spain. They had kept a watch on him ever since, spoken to associates and compiled damning evidence of far more serious behavior than that described in their story in January 2002. Some of it had been going on in the basement of Highgrove, which the Prince had done up for the boys as a den. They called it Club H and had wild parties there with their friends, playing loud techno music until the early hours. Rebecca Wade had rung her friend Bolin to alert him to what they had, and he brokered a deal which saved the young prince's bacon and left his father smelling of roses. Worried Charles chose to terrify Harry away from drugs by sending him to therapy sessions with hardcore heroin addicts, announced the News of the World, but a family friend declared reassuringly that he has never done drugs since. William is such a steadying influence. The two of them have had detailed discussions and Harry has changed his ways. He now understands the very real perils of drug-taking and excessive drinking. He has a lot to be thankful for. If his brother and father did not care so much about him, there might well have been a different end to this story. Little did the friend know that the wild child was merely limbering up. What incensed Harry, and William too, in defense of his brother, was that the two incidents were not connected. Harry had been to visit the rehab center in June or July of 2001, with Mark Dyer, where he did speak to recovering addicts, but it had nothing to do with his own behavior. The News of the World did not have the cannabis story until August or September of that year. Harry really resented the way he was made to look bad so that his father could look good, says a friend. He understood why it happened, and I don't think he blamed his father. But the idea that Harry had gone to a rehab center a year before because Prince Charles had seen the way things were going is a blatant load of B*********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************�e have any idea what his son was up to. It was PR panic and spin, and he really resents that he was made to take the rap for that. This same friend says, the idea of Harry being the wild one and William the good one is nonsense. They were both wild. Harry was just the one that got caught. He doubts, however, that William ever took drugs. He's quite canny, quite square in that way. I'd bet a lot of money he never has. He would never have been bullied into doing it because everyone else was. He's quite an intelligent man. He would know absolutely if he was caught taking drugs it would be a catastrophe. He lets his hair down and puts down some serious drink on occasions. Certainly he did as a student. And when he's away he definitely lets his hair down. He likes a good night out with his friends. But he's always quite careful to protect his image and not do anything that would really damage him. You get pissed, so what? Nobody cares. You take drugs, it tarnishes you forever, and if you're going to be king? No. But the idea of good prince, bad prince was always a load of rubbish. What was almost more upsetting about the news of the world story, however, was that the boy who unjustly took the blame for the whole scenario was Guy Pelly, a polo-playing friend of both brothers but principally William, and a student at Cirencester Agricultural College. He was said to have encouraged Harry to experiment with the drug at a private party in Tetbury, and taken it into Highgrove so Harry could smoke it at parties there. A family friend said, "Prince Harry fell in with a bad lot." Guy Pelly, who has a drink-drive conviction and is a student at Cirencester, was the worst influence. It was Pelly who introduced Harry to cannabis in June last year. William has always been worried for his friends that their association with him could force them into the limelight or cause them embarrassment in any way. He is almost obsessive about it, and this was as bad as it could get. Pelly was in as a good friend whose name and reputation were trashed by the media, and he was forced to give up his farm management course because of the row. He only ever spoke once about it. "I have never dealt in drugs at Highgrove, at the Rattlebone Inn or anywhere else," he said. "I have never taken drugs with Prince Harry or supplied any drugs to him. I have never used drugs at Highgrove or the Rattlebone Inn. I would like this categoric statement to put an end to the matter." That was wishful thinking. His reputation has never fully recovered from the incident, but it is a measure of the depth of loyalty and affection he, like all their close friends, feels towards both princes that he was prepared to put up with the indignity and never attempt to clear his name further. And it is a measure of just how loyal both princes are to their friends that just 5 weeks later, despite the newspapers telling us that Charles had forbidden Harry to see Guy Pelly again, they very publicly stood shoulder to shoulder with him on the terraces at Twickenham for a high-profile international rugby match. 18 months later, after Mark Bolland had gone from his job, he admitted that the sequence of events in the story was distorted to portray Charles in a positive light and attempt to draw a line under the scandal. "Presenting the rehab center as the great solution to the problem was something that I was embarrassed about," he said in an interview with The Guardian. "It was misleading.